Well, we have a special guest tomorrow.
Oh, I know. So we'll probably maybe try to bring him on Friday then,
Yeah.
because I don't want it to conflict, you know. So I'll reach out and tell him. So we'll see if we can bring him on Friday. Eric, did you see what everybody was talking about with you? It was funny. They wanted to revisit your review of Major League.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I thought that was funny. That came out of nowhere, you know?
Song gets me amped up in the mornings.
Ah,
Can you turn on the chat?
yeah. I thought it was the Dua Lipa one that you used to have way back when.
Oh, yeah, the dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
And what a storm. We're going to talk about the storm, too. Where were the dogs at?
Randy Quaid. Happy hump day, everybody. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia, and this is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from the Alamo City, San Antonio, Texas. We are 843 subscribers strong on YouTube, but we're also available on Twitter, available on Facebook as well. Big show as always. We like to talk sports, pop culture, and nostalgia here. This is going to be a beefless version of the show, okay?
Yes.
There will be no beef going on today. That was ridiculous yesterday. Apologies for that, because we had to lay down some ground rules at that point afterwards, because we're not going to have that stuff. Next time something like that happens, Joe, just yank it.
Gotcha.
Just yank it. Not going to happen again. So hopefully we're going to get everything all smoothed out over here. But speaking of smoothing things out, the concrete's being smoothed over right now at my house.
Nice.
Chris Leha, MCS General Contracting, showed up this morning. They're working on my patio. They're going to build a sidewalk for me, side of my house, prevent the dogs from getting out of that gate, right? Have a landing there. And the idea is for me to have a country music concert in the backyard in the next 30 days.
In celebration of, the revitalizations going on.
The rebirth of Michael Jimenez, the soon-to-be divorced Michael Jimenez, the revitalization, the renovation of me as a person and also of my house. Brand new furniture came in on Sunday.
Nice. You get wicker furniture, or outdoor?
No, the dogs will just chew that up and spit it out. No, I can't do anything outside when it comes to that. But the inside looks really nice. So the crews are going to be out there for the next couple of days. They're going to put up some ceiling fans on the porch, on the patio there. So to make it a little bit cooler, I guess, during the summer. I'm going to have my friends come by and put up some Christmas lights or something like that around.
Oh, yeah, the string lights.
To make it look nice. Going to go out and do some landscaping this weekend. I have a friend coming over, and we're going to plant some bushes and stuff like that around the backyard. Going to make it look nice. Going to mow it. Going to edge it. Make it look nice. And then at that point, I just need furniture for my bedroom, like a new set, and then maybe some flooring upstairs, and then I'm done. Whether I keep the house or get rid of it, at least I know it's done.
You're putting equity back into it, and you're going to get it out at the end if you decide to sell.
Dude, I was thinking about it, man. I have a nice house. It's a 7-year-old house, and it's 3,000 square feet.
It's big.
And I pay my mortgage of $2,001 on it.
That's nothing, dude.
That is nothing. Okay. I have a 2.625% interest rate on it. I did the math on it, right? I have $600 a month in equity that I build up on that thing, right? So if you take that 2,000, you subtract the 1,600, that's $1,400 right there, right? That's my true bill. But then again, you get to write off the interest and the taxes on all that. And then with the growth of the house, I came to the conclusion that it actually makes me money to stay there.
It does.
Over time.
If you can't even get a nice apartment, for that amount of money. I mean, depending on what side of town you want to live on,
Right.
you're going to probably get maybe a 2-bedroom, maybe.
Dude, in my neighborhood, I have a house going up about 12 houses down the street.
Yeah.
Okay. I bought my house for 306.
Yeah.
It was worth a lot more than that. I walked into equity. There's somebody building a house or buying a house down the street from me, 12 houses away for 650.
Damn.
There are some houses 3 blocks from me that are going for 900.
I saw that.
No way in the world it's worth $900,000. It's nice houses. I've walked in and out because I want to know what a $900,000 house looks like in San Antonio,
Yeah.
and it ain't much better than mine. So I may have to hold on to mine for a while. But MCS General Contracting on patrol right now over there,
Yeah.
and you know what? They're blaring the Tejano music.
Of course,
And
man.
Chris was asking me, if I'm going to give him crap about it, and I was going to say it's too ethnic.
They're working on it, man. You know what? Shout out to MCS General Contracting and Chris Leja.
Yeah,
Diamond Heart
Concrete,
best
man.
in the business.
Gonna pay that guy in cash, baby. Gonna pay him in cash.
Cash money.
Yeah, my dogs though are gonna have a bad day because they like to be outside.
Oh, yeah, they can't.
And they can't. So they're in the kitchen right now. Well, not in the kitchen. One's in a kennel, and one is in the Duncan. The husky is in the restroom right now, kind of locked in there for a while. He doesn't mind it. He likes it because it's cold in there. Daisy's kind of just wandering around. So my 3 dogs are trying to figure out what the heck's going on when they see a sidewalk down there at the end of the day. And Chris says that we can probably walk on it by like 5 or 6 this evening.
Yeah.
They're going to freak out.
You might have to take them for a walk, man.
Yeah. The husky, it's funny because I can take my husky without a leash.
Yeah.
And he'll sit by my side, and he tries to run off. I just call him and he comes back over.
Yeah.
The only time that he's ever freaked out is when somebody in a dirt bike came and tried to get him all amped up, try to get him all freaked out. My 2 other dogs, they need to be on a leash. This is what it is.
They'll take off.
But the big question last night was, did I get home in time from Corpus Christi? Because I had work meetings over there last night to get them inside the house. I beat the storms by about 10 minutes.
Yeah, man, they were coming, and you could see too off in the distance the lightning. It was putting on a light show.
Oh yeah. As I was driving back up 37 north, you could see the lightning. And by the time the rain came, when I got home, the lightning was all around me.
Yeah.
And again, it hailed at my house.
Yeah.
Again, it forever hails at my house. My niece had golf ball size hail at her home.
Oh, that's damaging. Dude.
And that was about 3 miles from my house, maybe 4 miles from my house.
You're lucky you didn't get it.
Yeah, it was gravitating towards Brennan High School. I live between Brennan and Medina Valley, and it kind of drifted away from us. Dude, my daughter right now in Baton Rouge works for the Baton Rouge newspaper. She was telling me that they shut down all the schools and LSU today because they have 80-mile-per-hour winds today with their
crazy,
storm.
Dude.
It's not a hurricane. It's not a tropical storm. They just have a rainstorm going by, howling 80-mile-per-hour winds.
Like straight line winds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she says that everybody is just being told to stay home.
I mean, can you imagine trying to get to class? I mean, what are you going to do?
Fly away.
You're trying to be one of those weather guys braving the storm.
Yeah, leaning back and having the weather push you forward.
Oh, God.
Lots to get into sports-wise today. We'll do some pop culture. Batty brackets, we're down to the final 4. Hey, tomorrow we're going to have San Antonio royalty on the Alamo City Sportscast. Super excited about that. Frank Harris, the legendary UTSA quarterback who is now working for the university, will be on. And I've warned Frank. I told him this is going to be a fun interview. I'm hoping to get something a little bit different out of him than what we normally get whenever we hear from Frank Harris, because we hear Frank Harris go on to San Antonio Sports Star, Ticket 760. We see him interviewed by KSAC Hands, WOAI.
It's always
KDV.
the same.
It's always very professional.
Yeah.
It's always very studious. Let's just keep it about X's and O's and
UTSA
what are you up to?
Football.
I want to get to know the guy.
Exactly.
I want to see the personality behind the guy. And people have reached out to me on Twitter saying, hey, good get. And my friend Sean is actually one of our listeners, was the one who flagged him down. He ran into him and said, hey, my friend has a podcast, would you be on it? That's kind of how we got it all together.
Oh, nice, dude.
So good lookout. Appreciate it, Sean. But Frank has been open. He goes, I know who you are. He goes, I heard your shows in the past. I know who you are. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. People are asking me, I think Chris Leja was one of them, am I going to be talking about the fact that I don't like the Alamo Dome?
Oh.
So if you have any questions for him, reach out to us on Twitter and let me know, DM me or reach
You
out
know
to
what?
us.
I got a good question for him. I mean, we should ask him what is his top three favorite sports flicks of all time.
That's a really good point right there, because when we were going back and forth, I was telling him, sample topics could be,
Yeah.
what's your Mount Rushmore of this and that and the other. I'm not going to get him into the baddie brackets because I don't think he wants to be reeled into that, because I don't know if there's
Might be uncomfortable.
I don't know if there's
Yeah.
Demon Frank.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, he's going to be on tomorrow at 10:30. I'll call and confirm today, but we were going back and forth yesterday about it, so I'm excited about that. And I want to get his take on the NFL draft, because the NFL
Yes.
draft is 2 weeks away, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So it's 15 days away.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk in a little bit about Adam Schefter of ESPN reporting that the Cowboys are a sleeper team to get a top quarterback this year. Now, we're not talking about a first round pick type of quarterback, but as Cowboy fans out there, would you be okay with the Cowboys spending a second, third, or a fourth round pick on a QB, knowing that Dak Prescott is not signed, sealed, and delivered for any seasons other than this season?
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the Spurs. Spurs played a G League team last night, came out victorious. They have done something that they haven't done in 2 years. Remember, we were talking about how they won 3 in a row. It was the first winning streak they had since December 2022. This is the first time, and I'm gonna go do the math on it, but I believe this is certain. First time in about 2.5 seasons that they have won 5 out of 10 games. They are 5-5 in the last 10 games.
Yeah, I would say that is an accurate assumption right there, because
it didn't happen this year or last year.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Last year was pretty bad.
And
But one of the things that we have to say, Mike, they've already tied their worst record of all time with 20 wins. They're 20 wins. So now, what are the Spurs at as far as their wins go for the season?
Well,
they're at 20.
They're at 20.
59, and there's still a couple games to go.
So it might not be the worst record of all time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're tied right now.
The Spurs, the worst they've ever done is win 20 games.
Yeah.
Right. And they've got that 2 hard games right now. Then the last game of the season against Detroit, they should get that one. They should get that one.
You would think
to make it 21-61.
What if Coach Pop decides just to sit all the starters and just let the young'uns?
Well, let's talk about this for a little bit, because yesterday's victory, it ensured the fact that it's not going to be the worst team of all time.
It's tied.
It's tied.
Yeah.
At worst case scenario was that it's tied.
Yeah.
But what it did was it elevated the Spurs to the 4th worst record in the league, as opposed to the 3rd worst. And the bottom 3, which right now consist of Detroit, Washington, and Charlotte, have the 3 best odds of getting the number 1 overall pick, which is the 14% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. Spurs had that 14% chance last season, won it. It was amazing that they did, that we got Victor Wembanyama as a result. But right now, because we slid into the 4th spot, our chances of winning the overall number 1 pick is 12.5%. And here's the thing. Portland is just 1 game away. So if the Spurs win 1 more game, we might fall to a 10.5% chance.
Ooh.
And now at that point, instead of the Spurs kind of
6 or 7
having a 50-50 chance, there's a 50-50 chance of us having a 7 or 8 pick and not even getting Toronto's, which is top 6 protected. The Drew Show has a $5 super chat coming in. What do all the Devin stands, Keldon stands, and Sohan stands think of the bench is outplaying them with Wemby? Bryant can't draft. Okay, so talk about Brian Wright, GM of the Spurs.
Hey, they've been playing it better without Vassell and Sohan, dude. I don't know what that says.
Maybe it's the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle don't work together. I mean, Drew is bringing up something that is actually very interesting, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's talent. Sometimes you can assemble a lot of talent but not win games. It's whether that talent complements each other.
Look at our boy Pledger's in here.
And he says, James Pledger says, to be honest, with this draft, does it matter where they pick? Well, it matters. It matters in the sense that if they plan on trading that pick, a number 1 overall pick is more valuable to trade than a number 7 pick.
Yeah, well, 1, 2, or 3. It's really what's ideal, especially the number 1. A lot of teams are salivating over that.
Now, the birthday boy Pledger bringing up the point that there's no tier 1. That's basically what he's saying.
Yeah, I understand.
Dude, I've gone to so many mock drafts, whether it be Bleacher Report, CBS Sports, ESPN, The Athletic. there's no consensus as to who the number one overall pick is. It's not like last year where it's Wemby. It's not like the season where it was John Morant and Zion Williamson.
You have your favorites.
It's all going to be depending on who is the number one overall pick and whether they're going to be drafting for need or for talent. And you can talk yourself into a lot of players.
Yeah.
I mean, I see some places like Zach Edey we were talking about yesterday. Number 15, number 45. I've seen everything in between. Zachary Reese-Archet, I've seen him going number 1 overall in some mock drafts. Seen some of going number 8. Rob Dillingham of Kentucky, who I've been a big fan of this year. I say that he's Kemba Walker. He's kind of a Kyrie Irving kind of guy. I see some mock drafts going as high as number 2, as low as number 8.
Yeah.
Reed Shepard, Isaiah Collier. There's no consensus as to where they're going to go. The thing is that I can talk myself into these guys. I can talk myself into them because Pledger's right. There's not a head and shoulders above everybody else. The question becomes, though,
it's probably fit.
It could be fit.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Would you rather have, they talk about a high ceiling, right? Okay. Do you want the highest ceiling possible, or do you want to have the highest floor possible? The highest floor possible basically means that they're going to be a good NBA player. I'll give you an example. When I saw Keldon Johnson go into this league, or Devin Vassell, they are high floor guys.
Yeah,
they're never going to be a superstar, but they'll always get you 15 to 17 to 18 points.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be superstars.
I mean, but you do need these types of players to add to the roster.
Right. They need to fill it out.
Yeah.
$5 super chat from Drew Show coming at us saying, whatever the pick, Brian Wrong and Pop in the front office are going to pick the worst possible shooter and the worst defender in the draft.
Who cares?
So you're going to get mad when they draft Stephon Castle out of UConn.
Oh, no.
Okay, because Stephon Castle, I will say this, Drew, I'm a big fan of Stephon Castle. I really am. And that guy cannot hit anything, man. He cannot shoot into the ocean, man. He is
Sohan?
Yes. At threes, yes. But a better finisher at the rim than Sohan. So he reminds me of kind of like, how like DeMar DeRozan was money from the 2-pointers, right? Mid-range, driving into the bucket, all that stuff. He's a 6'6" guy who can finish. He can run the break and all that stuff. I trust him shooting mid-range jumpers. I trust him doing all that. Knocking down 3-pointers at 26%, dude. 26, which is awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. But the thing about it is, he's a lockdown defender.
Look at what Jonathan C. says. He says, it doesn't matter who the Spurs draft. They won't make a significant difference. They'll probably end up in Austin.
I disagree. I think the Spurs right now are in the mode of playing their young guys. For so long, they avoided playing players like Manu, playing players like Tony Parker. There was a hesitancy to play the young guys, and now there seemed to be more of an emphasis of that. We saw Jeremy Sohan where they experimented at point guard, and they typically wouldn't do something like that.
You think the timetable's been moved up now since they got Wemby at number 1? They really have to see what they have in these players now.
I mean, I understand the concept of what they were trying to say, but you can't make somebody something that they're not. And that's why that experiment failed with Jeremy Sohan. Jeremy Sohan, you can't teach somebody to be a point guard in the NBA.
You got to have it natural.
Yeah, you got to have been doing that in middle school and high school and AAU and college or G League or out in Europe or something. You don't just say, oh, you've been playing power forward your entire life. Here's the ball. Go run the point. That was the dumbest thing. And it was actually one of the most arrogant things that Pop has ever done, is that whole experiment, because we all knew was failing. And to think about Sohan, dude, by December, I give him credit for actually saying what he feels. I talk about how NBA players, NFL players don't say how they feel. That was one of the few times there was a crack in the dam, and Sohan was like, dude, I don't like doing this.
Yeah, he's being honest.
Yeah, he was being honest. But as the Drew Show was talking to us about, what about everybody else around them? The Spurs played a very depleted team yesterday of the Memphis Grizzlies, who were missing basically everybody on their team. It was a glorified G League team that they played. In fact, the Spurs were favored to win by 4.5 points, won 102-87. Victor Wembanyama led the way with 18 points. He also had 7 blocks and 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Mamu started 11 points. Julian Champagny doing more than his Fitbit 10,000 steps.
Hey, what are you thinking about
17
Champagne?
points. I mean, come on, dude. The guy sucks. 17
Come on,
points. Malachi Brown had an off day shooting with 10 points. Off the bench, we had Blake Wesley with 13 points. And did City Sissoko have a career high? I think it is. He had 10 points last night on 4 of 6 shooting on 21 points. Dude, City, okay, so City Sissoko. It's funny about the draft last year because when the Spurs, we make fun of Brian Wright and Pop in the front office. I swear to you, this is not revisionist history. This is not a Michael Jimenez tall tale. I was sitting there watching the draft last year going, I hope City Sissoko gets picked at Spurs in the mid 40s.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds that this guy's going to fall? And when the Spurs were picking, I don't know what number it was. It was like 44 or something like that.
Yeah.
Number 44. I'm looking at it right now. They're picking at number 44. I'm like, oh my God, they have a chance to get City Sissoko. They have a chance to get him, and they got him. City is a first-round talent. Okay, he is a first-round talent. Now, I'm not saying top of the draft talent.
Yeah, first round.
But I'm talking about 25 through 30 is probably where he should have gone. And the Spurs got him. And what we're seeing is that this guy at 6'6", 200 pounds can play defense. And if you can lock somebody down and just develop an offensive game of some sort, okay? Drew Show reached out to us saying, sure, get another City, 10 dunks last night. He shot 1 corner 3 and put the rock to the other side of the court, nowhere near the basket. But the thing about it is that, you know, this is a guy that I think actually has NBA talent in him.
Yeah.
Because he plays defense. And that's the argument for Jeremy Sohan in many ways. Tex-Mex Frank has a $9.99 super chat saying, thank you, Mike and Joe, for coming to the Mike Taylor Barbecue Cook-Off and supporting the local community. Hope Mike liked the discards and Joe his cap. Yeah. Grateful for you guys. Dude, the Mike Taylor show and the Mike Taylor barbecue cook-off was amazing.
It was great. All the things that they're able to do for the community, for the Boys and Girls Club, bringing in, all the media people to come and judge everything. It was a fun event. And there were great people, man, walking around just saying hi, getting to know everybody.
Right.
It was great.
I think as we grow as an organization, as an entity with this podcast and this network, we'll be able to do something like that in the future. Maybe not as grand early on, but it'd be nice to give a few $1,000s to something. Jonathan C reaches out and he says, why are we only seeing City Sissoko now? Why was he in the G League for so long? And the thing about it is that I think City was the perfect guy to send to Austin because he did need that work. He needed to go out there and play 25 to 32 minutes per game in the G League and get that experience. That's not something that Wemby needed, because this was actually something that probably Sohan needed, to be honest with you, early in his career that he didn't get. But City Sissoko going out there to the G League. And the question becomes, getting somebody who's an incomplete player, because that's what's going on right now in the NBA draft. These guys are coming out after one and dones.
They're raw, dude.
They are raw talents. And so I asked the question about high ceiling or high floor. Which one's better, right?
Case in point, Zach Edey.
Oh, Zach Edey.
7'4". He's intriguing, right, for his size. But you look at him, he's methodical. He's a center from a bygone era.
Yeah.
What's he going to be at the NBA level, and where is he going to go? He's not going to be a top 10.
No, he's not, and he's probably not even going to be top 20. But I look at Zach Edey and I think to myself, the only reason why he couldn't be guarded was because there was nobody there his size.
His size, exactly.
And he's going to go to the NBA where there are players who are faster than him, that are relatively close to his size. He's going to tower over him because he's 7'4".
Comparable,
but
Boban?
But you have 7-footers out there. Maybe a little bit better than Boban. Zach Edey has a little bit more of a burst. Doesn't have the range, doesn't stretch the floor at all. Maybe he can be a defensive. I think the player comparison to Andre Drummond is probably pretty accurate.
I like that.
It's pretty accurate. But we talk about high ceiling players. Jeremy Sohan is somebody who has a high ceiling, because if the guy can figure it out offensively, maybe he can be the next Kawhi Leonard. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm
Look at
just saying that is intriguing enough because
Yeah.
we've seen Jeremy Sohan go out there and have a 26-point game, a 30-point game. We've seen this before. It's just he falls back to a 4-point game 2 games later.
Yeah, he'll have like a 20-point game, a 17-point game, and then followed by 3 or 4 3 points.
Right.
1 point. And look at what Pledger's saying. He's saying, why are we just seeing Graham play finally? Well, there wasn't a lot of playing time to go around. Coach Pop and the front office and the coaching staff, I believe what they're doing is they really want to see what they have in these young players because the timetable has been moved up. Now that you have Victor Wembanyama, they have to see, is this kid going to really pan out to where we want him? Or do we have to go ahead and cut our losses and maybe say goodbye?
It's a nice way of saying that he was not going to be part of the long-term plan. Devontae Graham, I mean,
yeah.
and this is the confusing thing. By the way, don't forget to follow James Pledger Extra Innings on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Devontae Graham obviously is one of the better point guards on this team. I mean, you can make the argument that Devontae Graham and Trey Jones, that there's not much of a difference between the two. But Devontae Graham has the ability to get the ball into people where they're supposed to get it because this guy is a veteran point guard. Who would have thought that having a veteran out there who's 29 years old would be beneficial to getting the ball to Victor Wembanyama where he wants it, when he wants it?
Give the ball to the tallest guy.
Who would have thought, right? But the thing is that what I'm afraid is seeing players come to San Antonio or not want to come to San Antonio. The attraction is let's go play with Victor Wembanyama. The detraction or the thing that is not appetizing, if I was a mid-level veteran player, is playing for Pop. This is not Pop. We're not going to go to negative town and Pop slander. But what I'm saying is,
you're not going to get the playing.
You're not going to get the playing time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look at C.D. Osman. I mean, there are some games when he'd go out there and he'd play, some pretty decent minutes.
Same thing with
Alamo. There were some other times when he just wouldn't. You go in years past, the Spurs are Thad Young. Thad Young, I mean, he came to San Antonio. His career was ruined at that point.
Yeah.
He was a decent player elsewhere. He comes to San Antonio, they stapled his ass to the bench.
No playing time.
Now, Thad Young was not a free agent pickup. That was part of a trade.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that I would be fearful as a 29, 30-year-old veteran player to come to the Spurs because you can look at all that they've done with the veteran players over the past 3 or 4 seasons, and it's been nothing.
They just sit on the bench.
They sit on the bench and rot, even if they are better than others. Tavares say, go sign Paul George. No, I'm okay. I don't want Paul George. Paul George is obviously a great talent and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is that is too much money to go for a player who's on the opposite side of 30. The NBA free agent list, though, for this summer, though, we've gone through this before, but
look at what Tavares says. He says Devontae Graham is a better shooter than Trey Jones. It says Pop refuses to play him.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, why? Is the master plan because they were secretly tanking? Again, players don't tank, but organizations
do. Like the team we have.
So, again, let's go through this list of free agents. Tyrese Maxey, he's going to be re-signed by the Sixers because he's a badass. LeBron ain't coming to the Spurs. Paul George is a player option with LA. He's not going to leave LA for SA. Pascal Siakam, unrestricted free agent. You got to throw a lot of money his way to make it happen. And who's to say that Jeremy Sohan can't become a Pascal Siakam type of player? DeMar DeRozan, interesting.
Hey, I wouldn't mind.
I mean, DeMar DeRozan,
come back home.
He could alleviate. I mean, the guy's a bucket. He's a bucket,
and he's a veteran. He knows how to win games, especially close games.
And he knows Pop, and he knows the system.
This young team just can't win those close games. Maybe, he comes back. DeRozan might make the difference.
James Harden, get the heck out of here. Tobias Harris, I wouldn't mind. Miles Bridges, though,
that's intriguing.
I mean, I could be talking to Miles Bridges. That he screams Spur in the sense that just the way he plays, maybe not on a personal level, But just the way that he plays this season,
Yeah.
averaging 21
Look at what
points
Tavares
and
says.
7 rebounds.
Spurs need bucket getters. They need people that can shoot, man.
And that is where a Miles Bridges kind of comes into play. But again, it just all depends on things. He had that domestic violence charge that happened in 2022.
Yeah.
He allegedly assaulted a woman in front of their 2 children. So maybe that's not something that the Spurs would want to entertain.
Look at
But player-wise is good. Pledger saying Drew Holiday and Tobias Harris. I don't mind Tobias Harris. Drew Holiday, I mean, how old is Drew Holiday? It feels like Drew Holiday has been around.
He's been around
forever.
Yeah, he's been around for a while, dude. But he's a savvy vet, you know?
Yeah, he'll be 34 next season.
He's still got some tread on the tire, dude.
Yeah, Morvey coming out saying Cade Cunningham from Detroit. They about to let go of Monty Williams. Monty Williams, man. I like Monty Williams, dude. Just as a person, dude.
As a coach, he's washed.
Dude. He is, man. He is. Other options out there, D'Angelo Russell, no thank you. Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, I like him, but I don't know. Nick Claxton
isn't he an upgrade over what we have now?
Yes, if that upgrade
Collins,
is
I mean,
Collins.
come on, man.
Malik Monk. I mean, this is an 11, 15 point per game kind of guy, 6-man. I mean, he's not going to get the Spurs over the hump, but he's a decent free agent pickup. So the more I look at this, I wonder if the Spurs are really just going to go the trade route. And the question, and I keep thinking about the whole Trae Young thing.
Hey,
it's sexy.
1-2.
He can make money. He can make buckets.
He wants to play with Wemby.
You can tell, dude. I mean, they All-Star weekend, they were all but holding hands. Okay. I mean, when they were sitting next to each other, I was like picturing one putting their hand on the other's knee. Okay. They were googly eyes with each other.
Yeah.
Trae Young can't play defense for squat,
but he can score buckets.
He can score. He could score. Golly, man, if we got like a Dillingham in the draft and just have him just spin him like a top and give him the ball and just go make a bucket. Reed Shepherd, man, if Reed Shepherd was 6'6", 6'7", but he's 6'4", I don't know. Cody Williams, I mean, that's another name out there from Colorado where his brother is a star, and you would feel that it's in the genes, right? It's in the family genes to make this happen. We went on a tangent talking about the Spurs, but the Spurs again have won 5 out of 10 games for the first time in over 2 years.
500.
Let's stand up and give them a round of applause as they walk out of they back out of the top 3 spots in the draft and are flirting one more win, and they fall to the 5th spot.
What do you do at that point? I mean, the thing is, I'm not opposed to them winning because you want them to have something to look forward to next season. If you just end the season on a sour note, you go on a 5-game losing streak, how does that motivate you?
Well, I mean, Drew show earlier in our podcast was talking about the fact that the Spurs are getting these wins without Devin Vassell, without Keldon Johnson, and without Jeremy Sohan. So I hate to say this, Joe, that makes these wins even more meaningless. It means something if part of the young core that they're hoping to bring along way the next 2-3 seasons, we have locked down under contract, or winning games. Mamu ain't going to be starting next year.
No.
Julian Champagnie ain't going to be starting next year. We're not going to be getting a lot of minutes from a lot of these guys out there. Sidi Sissoko ain't going to be getting 20 minutes of run.
He's going to be in Austin.
These are meaningless wins. Drew show calling them 5 out of 10. The Spurs squad is the replacements.
The replacements.
Shane Falco. Did I get the right movie?
Scraping barnacles off the boat.
I saw the replacements for the first time like a year or 2 ago with Pledger.
It was funny.
Because Pledger told me to watch it for my old show.
Didn't you like the punter? He was always smoking.
He's always smoking. He was chain smoking. Yeah, I like that movie. I watched Waterboy again for the first time in a while.
That was always good.
I watched it for the first time 2 years ago as well. I like it.
It's funny.
I like it. You know what I don't like? It's not that I think it's a bad movie, because I'm not going to say it's like a terrible movie. I like Waterboy so much more than I do, and I like Billy Madison.
Okay, Billy Madison's a good
so
one.
much more than Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore's okay too. It's not bad.
Happy Gilmore it's okay. I'll watch it. I'm not going to slander it, it just
You
it's
think
just,
it's I?
it's I. It's I.
If it's on, put it on as I'm cleaning the house. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there. I mean, I'll play with my phone while watching it,
Yeah.
right?
You're not locked in.
Yeah, exactly. But we were talking about the replacements. Are the Dallas Cowboys going to get a replacement at quarterback?
Are they?
You know, Adam Schefter on ESPN yesterday was talking about the fact that he believes that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be what he calls a sleeper team to draft a quarterback. And he was very emphatic about it, talking about this on ESPN. Adam Schefter knows a lot, man.
He does, man. He knows a whole lot.
He knows a whole heck of a lot. And, you know, our good friend RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys and from San Antonio Sports Star was basically having a little bit of a breakdown of sorts. Okay. I love the guy, man, but it wasn't a breakdown, but it was just, I think he's like a lot of Cowboy fans right now, checked out. Like just going, what the hell is going on here? And there were some articles that he was referencing to from Michael Gelkin up in the DFW area, talking about the fact that everyone's like, well, why isn't CeeDee Lamb signed yet? Why isn't Micah Parsons signed yet? And why isn't Dak signed yet? And now is there hesitancy about it? Because the Cowboys have forever been that team that says, we will pay you when we pay you. We're not going to pay you early. We're not going to rework your contract or whatever the case may be. Back in the day, Zeke Elliott held out. Back in the day, Emmitt Smith held out, and they got their way. And I think the Cowboys, because it's the same regime, it's Jerry and Steven, I think they look back at that and go, well, we're not going to be taken advantage of again. But they end up, no decision is a decision. And a decision not to sign CeeDee Lamb to an extension, not to sign Micah Parsons to an early extension. They don't have to sign him to an extension now, but why not do it now? Because everything gets more expensive down the road.
Exactly. And what message does it send to them? You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to come into, you know, training camp and they're going to be disgruntled because you're not giving them their love.
What message does it send to the team right now that they went and got nobody in free agency?
Do we like the team we have? You know, they're not going to make any moves, even though they said we're all in. And you let some of your pieces go, you know, but you're all in.
So let's talk about this real fast about the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Because if what Adam Schefter is true, and Tavares is saying Parsons wants out. I mean, if you believe his people, if you believe his brother talking crap on social media,
they're not showing him love.
I know. You can always find out when it comes to, you can always see it when they unfollow people on Instagram. By the way, Jonathan C says he does it again. Great segue, Mike. You know what? I'll be honest with you. Internally, John, I was actually patting myself on the back.
Like, I'm gonna pop my collar.
I used to be a professional at this.
Hey, but I was gonna say with Parsons, the rumor has always been that no matter where the defensive coordinator, you know, the offensive coordinator, should I say, went for the Cowboys, he wanted to follow.
Yeah,
Dan Quinn,
the DC now with the now with the Washington Commanders as head coach.
Maybe he might want to go, you know, over there.
You never know. You never know. I mean, he did play ball at Penn State, right? East Coast, it's pretty close. Let's talk about the quarterbacks, though, because if the Cowboys are going to be picking a quarterback, chances are it's not going to be a first rounder because they would have to give up a lot of draft capital to move up. There is something called a trade chart.
Yeah.
That says if you want to move up from, say, 20-something to 12, this is what you have to give up in compensation. Each position of the draft has a point value. And that's why whenever we see trades happen, we go, okay, well, they traded this player, this pick for this and that. And it's always like, oh, they added a 6th and a 7th rounder. It's because they're adding the points together to make it even.
Numbers got to match up.
They believe in this structure. So the Cowboys aren't going to move up. The Dallas Cowboys, the 2024 draft, again, which begins in 2 weeks and 1 day. So 2 weeks from tomorrow. Try to see where the Cowboys pick, man. The Cowboys pick number 24. And they're not going to get a top quarterback because there'll probably be 5 off the board in the first, let's say 4 off the board in the first 10 picks, right? So according to CBS Sports, here's their rankings of quarterbacks for this upcoming draft. They have Caleb Williams number 1. And most teams believe, or most prognosticators believe, that Caleb Williams is going to go to the Chicago Bears. They have Drake May at number 2. Most mock drafts have Drake May going 3rd when it comes to the quarterbacks, because Jaden Daniels of LSU is considered to be, by many people, the second best talent. Jaden Daniels is also the most dynamic. People are kind of concerned about whether he's going to get hurt. They compare him to Robert Griffin III out of Baylor from back in the day.
Robert Griffin, man, he was great when he came in. He just didn't have the, let's say, the stamina.
He didn't know how to fall.
He would get injured too easy because he was on the lighter side.
He was always upright.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to give himself up. And that is a skill set that we see with like Patrick Mahomes, or we see with some of these running quarterbacks. Maybe not like Josh Allen. Josh Allen wants to run right through you. But a Dak Prescott, a Patrick Mahomes, a running back a quarterback who can run, but that is not a running quarterback. They have found the ability to know when to slide, when to go out of bounds, and things like that. Jaden Daniels doesn't really have a problem with that. I think that it's completely overrated when it comes to it. Jaden Daniels has a cannon on him. He's not going to be like Cam Newton. He's not going to try to run you over, but he'll run. Yeah. He'll squeak by. I think Jaden Daniels will be perfectly fine.
Cam Newton was a big guy, dude.
He was, dude. J.J. McCarthy, by the way. Boom. Just rising up the draft stock right now. His boy, his former head coach, just going out there and saying that this guy's the truth. J.J. McCarthy is expected to go in the top 10 easily. So who are the Cowboys going to get if they spend a 3rd or 4th round pick? Let me know if any of these names turn you on at all. Okay. One is interesting. Michael Pratt out of Tulane.
Okay.
AAC school, rather. This is a guy that played a lot of ball, man. The 3 years he was there at Tulane, he did have another year of eligibility left. Michael Pratt could be a 3rd rounder. The next one is a decent player, but an even better name, Spencer Rattler.
Oh man, that's a great
name. That's like can't you picture Jerry Jones going, man, I knew when I saw Spencer Rattler, when I saw the game footage of him with South Carolina. I mean, they're known as the Cocks for a reason. You know, I can see him doing that. And then Jordan Travis out of Florida State, Gavin Hardison out of UTEP are some that are in that same area there that could be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, because that's where the Cowboys got Dak Prescott back in the day. And Dak Prescott, by the way, went in the 4th round. The mock drafts had him in the 2nd. He fell.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys picked him up. So let me ask you, Joe, as a resident Cowboys fan here, I know you're a lapsed Cowboys fan at this point. And Jonathan C. has a really good question, but we're going to get to that in a second. What position in the draft would you be okay with the Cowboys picking a quarterback? I know it's not going to be a 1st rounder, right?
It's not.
But if they spent, because what's gold? What you should be starting players, 1st rounders, 2nd rounders, 3rd rounders, they should be starters. 4th and 5th should be competing for starting roles, or maybe future starting roles.
Yeah.
6 and 7, hoping and prayer.
Yeah. 3 or 4 is where it's at. Dude.
3 or 4 is where it's at?
Yeah.
You like the name Spencer Rattler?
I do, man. You know what? I'm looking right now too, and I got to say, man, the one of the names that stands out to me is I like Michael Pratt as well.
Yeah.
The guy's only 22 years of age. 6'3". He's taller than the other named quarterbacks that you just went ahead and said in what's his name, Rattler and Jordan. So I don't know, man. Tulane's not a bad school either. So I like this kid, dude. But it has to be something that the Cowboys see there as well.
You look at players like Spencer Rattler. It's one of those things where he played for Oklahoma, he played for South Carolina, he played for good programs there. His last season, take a look at his last season as a senior, 69% accuracy, threw for 3,200 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Now, when he was at Oklahoma, he threw for 28 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He played another season, had an injury, and then got replaced. He made his way to the transfer portal, made his way to South Carolina. So it's a guy who's played both Big 12 and, if I'm not mistaken, SEC ball as well.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad name right there. I mean, let's see what you can get with him. A little bit short for the quarterback position. He's 6'1". But give me that other name from Tulane.
Tulane, I like the Michael Pratt. That's what I was saying.
I remember watching him play because Michael Pratt is somebody who played against UTSA.
6'3".
Yes, 6'3", 200 pounds. Pretty decent size. Played in the American Athletic Conference for 4 seasons. Was a starter his freshman, junior, and senior year. Last year, 22 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. The year before that, 27 and 5. Guy had 3,000 yards passing one time. I mean, in a 13-game season, not bad. So the Cowboys, again, according to Adam Schefter, a sleeper team to get a quarterback at some point in the draft. Again, keeping Dak Prescott is probably the number one priority, but after that,
who knows? Look at what Jonathan C says. Jerry Jones' voice. I want me some Spencer Rattler. Look at Pledge. Rattler has just had a top 30 visit with Houston.
Oh, well, the Houston Texans need to get backup quarterbacks too.
And Spencer is okay in OU. Wasn't the Tulane QB always hurt? Yeah, that's the thing with the kid, man.
That's the thing. Now, here's the thing. Longhorn star is in trouble. So Jonathan, see if you can call up his comment as well. Talking about T'Vondre Sweat.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
So asking the question, y'all think Sweat will drop to the Cowboys? This is a guy that is highly touted, is expected to be a potential first-round draft pick, arrested over the weekend for DWI, suspicion of DWI.
Ooh, not good.
And it was actually a very bad car accident that happened at, it was during the day. It wasn't like the middle of the night.
Damn.
It happened during the day. But he's somebody that 5-year career at Texas, had 127 tackles, 5 sacks, 15 passes defended, and a forced fumble. He was considered to be one of the top defensive linemen selected in the 2024 draft, and was considered to be a day 2 pick, so maybe somebody who would go in the second or third round. The Houston Texans were looking at this guy. This is something that you can actually maybe pick him up in the third or fourth round.
Not bad.
A second round talent. Hopefully this scares him straight and isn't something that's going to be something that perpetuates for him. But it amazes me how all these players do stupid crap before the draft.
It's like you can't have their handlers keep an eye on them, put them away somewhere and say, you know what, let's not do some dumb shit for a couple weeks.
Dude, that's the thing, man. I mean, and famously back in the day, I remember I was young, but I remember when Len Bias died.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, and the idea that was the first time he had done cocaine. Come on.
That's always that one thing that they always have, right? That all these guys have in common sometimes. I'll just one more hit and then I'll stop.
Yeah.
Boom, that's it. They're done.
And that right there is just stupidity.
Yeah.
It's just stupidity. We saw those guys from Georgia last year who were involved in that fatal crash that was expected to be, that was might have been street racing and whatnot. And
just being stupid.
Homeboy fell all the way to the end of the first round when he was considered to be a top 10 talent.
Can you imagine how much money he lost out on?
Mm-hmm. But he didn't lose his life like that young lady did.
Yeah, man.
Mock draft from CBS Sports as of this morning. Still saying, again, the NFL draft in 15 days. Caleb Williams going number 1 overall to the Bears. Jaden Daniels of LSU going to the
Caleb
Washington
Williams
Commanders.
number 1, dude. I still don't like the kid. Dude.
I don't like him either, dude. The guy looks like a douchebag.
He does, man.
And people think it's because he paints his fingernails. I don't care that he paints his fingernails.
He's just a douchebag.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard's people, Uncle Dennis and all that crap. That's what Caleb Williams feels like. He feels like he's holier than thou and that he's the best prospect of all time. Like he's the Victor Wembanyama of the NFL draft. No, dude. There's no big name quarterback this year. Okay. They're all projects of some sort. It's no different than when Bryce Young and CJ Stroud came out. What's going to end up happening is that 1 or 2 of these guys are going to pan out and 2 or 3 are going to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened with that draft 5 or 6 years ago when you had Mitchell Trubisky drafted above Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And when Kansas City traded up above the Saints, because the Saints wanted to get him, they traded above the Saints to get him. the entire audience thought they're going to get Deshaun Watson, and they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Beauty in the eye of the beholder. Again, according to CBS Sports, Caleb Williams should go number 1 to the Bears. The Washington Commanders would be getting Jaden Daniels at number 2 overall. Most mock drafts have it that way. Now, here's the thing. They now have J.J. McCarthy, who was considered a second rounder about 2 months ago, who did really well in college. Harbaugh, his coach, talking him up like crazy, did well at the combine, was suddenly a top 5 pick, and is now, according to CBS Sports, the number 3 guy going to New England.
It always fluctuates, man. As you get closer and closer to the draft, goes up and down,
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to see where he falls, but he is moving up.
I'm pretty certain that this is all going to happen unless there's a major trade going on. Number 4, they have Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver stud, going to the Arizona Cardinals. They believe that there's going to be a trade at number 5, a trade between the Chargers and the Vikings. They believe the Vikings will stay there at 5 and get Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina. Malik Neighbors, LSU stud wide receiver, going to the Giants, according to CBS Sports. Joe Alt, offensive tackle from Tennessee, going to Tennessee, rather, from Notre Dame. Looking at other names on here that might be interested.
Hey, look at James Pledger. He says, people do stupid crap all the time. They're just under a microscope. This is true. And they should know that. I mean, that's something that you're going to be looked at before the draft is coming, and you got to not make stupid decisions.
Well, I'll push back on that. When people are doing stupid things at young ages, they don't have multi-million-dollar contracts, awaiting them. Yeah. That's the thing. They're just stupid at that point.
Yeah. Look at what Jonathan C says. If I was an agent, I'd say a simple mistake can cost you $100K.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Was it worth it? Yeah, it's a hell of a tab. The mock draft has my Saints going after an offensive tackle and passing on Brock Bowers. Man, I want Brock Bowers so bad.
What a name, right?
It's a great name, man. Brock Bowers out of Georgia, 6'4", 240.
Name right there.
That guy, I think that, remember Kyle Pitts was supposed to be that guy?
Oh, yeah.
He was supposed to be that guy. And I told a friend of mine who's a huge Atlanta Falcons fan, if Kirk Cousins can't get Kyle Pitts the ball, Kyle Pitts is a bust. You can always say, well, it's because they had Desmond Ridder quarterback. They had this other crappy quarterback.
You can blame somebody else.
You can blame somebody else. If Kirk Cousins can't get that guy's stats, that guy was trash to begin with, right? They have the Dallas Cowboys selecting at number 24, Tyler Guyton, who is a offensive tackle from Oklahoma, 6'7", 328. I can buy that. They need an offensive tackle.
Yeah, they do.
Biotish is gone. Tyron Smith is gone. They need an offensive lineman, and it's not a sexy pick.
It's not safe.
But they need to do it, man. They need to do it. A lot of Texas Longhorns expected to go in the first round, according to CBS Sports. Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, expected to go late first round to maybe Buffalo. You have players like Byron Murphy, defensive lineman, 6'1", 310, possibly going around number 18 to Cincinnati. I'm never confident about mock drafts because the NFL mock draft is the one that is least like the others, because when you watch the NBA mock draft, typically it's kind of there, right? It's like, oh, well, this is all kind of going relatively to form until the Spurs draft Josh Primo, and no one knows who the hell that guy is because he was a projected second rounder and the Spurs got him at 12. I'll never forgive Brian Wright for that. But the NFL draft is typically a crapshoot. There's always something going on. There's always a trade. Things will always happen. But if it was like this and there was no movement, I think a lot of this is legit. I think Caleb Williams is going to the Bears. It seems pretty obvious that he is.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels going to the Commanders. Seems pretty obvious that it is. McCarthy going number 3 overall. Dude, there are people who are falling in love with this guy. He looks the part, man. He's 6'3", 202. And that's another thing about Caleb Williams. He's 6'1". A little bit short.
Yeah.
We saw him at Bryce Young. Bryce Young was what, 5'10"? Small hands? No. Kenny Pickett was the one with small hands.
Oh, no, yeah, it was Pickett.
It was Kenny Pickett. Hey, the baddie brackets are out. We're down to a final 4. The baddie brackets just came to an end right now. Let's go ahead and see who falls, who is now going to be in the final 4. I know that Chris Leha of MCS General Contracting is going to be pissed off about this because Sydney Sweeney advanced with 38% of the vote. Now, I'm going to ask you a question here. I want to know, Joe, should we change the rules on this? Controversy in our baddie brackets.
Is it the OF OnlyFans?
No, it has to do with the fact that I posted these brackets out back to back.
Okay.
And whenever I post brackets back to back, they have pretty much identical number of votes. Right? So if there's 100 votes on one, there'll be somewhere between 98 and 102 on the other. It's almost identical because they're sent out at the exact same time. For some reason, in one of the brackets, we had 99 votes. And in the other bracket, we had 185.
That's odd. Depends on who they were.
Right, because the bracket that had Sydney Sweeney, Shakira, Ana de Armas, and Dua Lipa had 185.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that those who finished third in this bracket had more raw votes compared to the person who finished second in the other one.
Okay.
So we're going to advance Salma Hayek because she won her bracket with 37 out of the 99 votes, right? 37%. Second place in that bracket is Paige Sporonic. She got 26 votes. So you do the math, 26%, 26 votes. So theoretically, we're going to advance those two. Salma, most definitely.
Oh, yeah. She's a number one.
Now, in the other bracket, Sydney Sweeney got 38% of the vote. You do it where you add the fact that there's 185 people who voted. She got about 70 votes.
Yeah.
I mean, she put down a massive number. Second place, though, could not believe that Shakira was fourth in this bracket. Ana de Armas came out of nowhere with 25%.
That's
out of nowhere.
Not surprising.
Dude, she hasn't performed for crap in this whole baddie bracket. No. She's forever second place, and she's forever barely advancing.
And you had said, I think it was you said she was going to be a sleeper hit.
I did say that she was going to be a sleeper from the beginning, but it's just so weird that she's rising. She's getting hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Dua Lipa had 20% of the vote. Funny thing about Dua Lipa getting 20% of the vote, 20% of the vote that Dua Lipa got is more at third place than what Salma Hayek got at first place in her other bracket. That's why I'm a little bit concerned here. So my question for you is, Salma Hayek advances because she won her bracket.
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney advances because she won her bracket. Ana de Armas because she finished second in her bracket.
Okay.
And it was the bracket that had the most number of votes voted on. But my question for you is, who should be the fourth person? Because I did say the rules were the top two advanced. But because so many people voted on one category and then skipped the other, should the third place Dua Lipa advance, or should it be a second place Paige Sporonic, even though Dua Lipa got more raw votes than Paige Sporonic? Paige Sporonic got second place in her bracket, got 26%. Dua Lipa got third place in her bracket, got 20%. But raw vote wise, it wasn't even close. Dua Lipa got more votes than Paige.
That's a tough one, man. At the end of the day, though, I'd have to go with the voice of reason. Even though Dua Lipa did get more votes, Paige came in second.
What say you? Reach out to us on our YouTube stream because Chris Leha's already jumping in right now. He says, quit changing the effing rules. There has not been one rule change, by the way.
I agree with Leha on this one. Paige moves on.
Dua can kick rocks. It's so weird, man. Paige got 26 raw votes yesterday. Dua Lipa got 37. She got 11. She got 11 more votes than Paige.
And look at again. Paige moves on because second poll
did not load properly. They loaded properly.
Stick to the votes.
This just feels like the electoral college where one person gets more votes but loses the electoral college.
Yeah. Well, you didn't win. Was it like Washington or something? You know?
Yeah.
You didn't get the 3 votes.
Fine. Sydney Sweeney, Ana de Armas, Paige Sporonic, and Salma Hayek. are advancing. Ana de Armas is first of all, we want to just give a shout out to Dua Lipa because that was,
The golf clap.
the golf clap. Because girl, you lasted in San Antonio longer than what most people would have thought.
Uh,
And
Leia's coming in hot.
so you screwed over. Get it, you bastard. I'm gonna charge you, upcharge you for that. I did it. Dua beat Yannick Garcia in San Antonio. Beat her by 1 vote.
Wow.
Beat her by 1 vote. It was legit. As I like to quote TLC all the time from the 90s, it was actual and factual. Dua Lipa beat Big Booty Yannick Garcia here in San Antonio. So now take a look at it this way. We're going to have a Final 4 tonight. Final 2 advance. Will others take votes? Okay, because you take a look at like Salma Hayek and Ana de Armas.
Yep.
Will they peel votes away from each other? What about Sydney Sweeney and Paige Sporonic? Will they steal votes from each other? What happens if the finals do not include one Latina?
Oh man, that'd be sacrilege. Something's amiss.
So, do you agree with me that they should be 4 in a pod, top 2 advance to the finals?
Yeah.
Or do you think I should just pair them off 1-on-1 against each other, like Sydney versus Paige?
Oh, kind of like a playoff,
or like a playoff. Or do you want it to be where the Latinas go against each other, or the big chesty white girls go after each other? Which ones are we doing here?
I think that would be good. Pair the Latinas against each other and the white women against each other. That way it'd be more even, it'd be more like a
no, because you're afraid that if we put them in pods that Paige and Sydney are going to advance, aren't you?
No, I'm saying like if you put them in pods, it's really depending on the voters at that point. And it's going to be dependent on the voters at any point. But I'm saying I think the odds would be better if you put the Latinas against each other and then put the other white women against each other.
Yeah, Chris Gonzalez reached out saying we need to have playoffs 1-on-1 at this point.
Hey, I'm not opposed to that. I kind of like that.
Okay, so let me see who got the most votes yesterday. So the most votes yesterday was Sydney Sweeney. So she's the number 1 overall seed at this point. She would have to play the runner-up. So it would be Sydney Sweeney against Paige Sporonic. And it'd be Salma Hayek against Ana de Armas.
Leha says, wow, Joe wants brown on brown crime. I'm just saying, the only one that's going to beat a Latina is another Latina, dude. You got to put them up against each other 1-on-1.
So Jesse says 2 versus 2. I think he wants the 4 in the pod.
Yeah, and he wants 4
because it makes it harder to decide at that point.
Yeah, and then Joe Gonzalez says 4 in the pod.
I can be swayed up either way. I mean, there's no right or wrong. I mean, ultimately the finals is going to be a 1-on-1.
Yeah, I mean, why not start it now? Kind of like the Sweet 16, the Final Four. You're going up against the opposing player or opposing team 1-on-1.
Noah Bettis reaches out and says Sydney Sweeney is the definition of a nugget. I just hope that people do this around town. Like Noah's out with his boys one day. They're out at some sports bar watching a game, and he looks at a girl and goes, "That girl's a nugget."
You got to thank the great Chuck McIntyre for that.
Chuck McIntyre was the originator of that. 25 years ago, we were saying nugget.
And we talked to him about that too at the Mike Taylor barbecue. And it was funny because he's like, I don't remember.
What's it called? It was funny because I made fun of him. I said, she was like, if she was really hot, it was like 8 U's. It was like nugget. And it was with an IT at the end. So I'm watching a movie last night and got me thinking about the baddie brackets a little bit. We didn't have a redhead selection.
Oh yeah.
There needs to be next year a redhead selection because I'm watching a movie yesterday called Molly's Game. It's on Netflix. I only watched half of it yesterday because I started watching it when it was raining last night, and around 12:30 I turned it off to go to bed. And Jessica Chastain is in this movie.
Oh, okay.
And
say no more.
Jessica Chastain has always been very attractive.
Yeah.
But in this movie, ridiculously so. Let me show some photos from this movie here.
Let me go ahead and see if I switch the screen here. There you go.
She was ridiculously hot in this movie. And it got me thinking about the redheads. We didn't have a redhead category. There should have been. Jessica Chastain would have been, what, a top 2 seed
Yeah, and you
in
didn't
the
have
redheads?
a full figured category either.
Yeah, but we included BB Rexa somewhere in
No,
there.
but I'm just saying you should have put them together. You should have lumped them together.
Chris Gonzalez saying, I thought we had Bryce Dallas Howard. I mean, that's
Hey.
another one there.
She got some cake, bro.
You know, other attractive, Isla Fisher is really pretty.
Oh yeah, hey, she's on the market too.
Yeah, Isla Fisher and Borat are divorcing.
Sohan or
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Baron Cohen, yeah.
So, you know, other redheads along the way. There was Christina Hendricks from Mad Men.
Oh yeah, dude, she was banging.
Mm-hmm. Chris Layhouse says, pull up the poll with
pictures of them with no makeup.
Okay, let me show you something here, Leha. I'm going to show you what Salma Hayek looks like with no makeup. Okay, they all have bad photos sometimes, dude. They all have bad photos. You know, makeup enhances, baby. It enhances. Just is what it is.
Makes them look alive.
Yeah, I don't know why they're calling Sydney Sweeney droopy-eyed Sweeney. What are you talking about?
I guess it's her eyes, bro.
Because you know what? Here's the thing that I will say about all four of them: Paige Sporonic, Sydney Sweeney, Salma Hayek, Ana de Armas. They're all four of them are 10s.
Yeah,
they're all 10s. There's not one that's mid of any of them. I don't care if people calling her midney. None of them are mid, dude. None of them. If they walked into the room, they would light up the room. Every guy would fall in love, and every woman would
not
hate
with
them.
Leha. Leha has already told me about Sweeney. He says, because we went and ate lunch together the other day, and he said, she aight.
She aight?
She aight.
No, dude. She's a nugget. You know what she is?
Man.
And it's so funny because she's starting to dress this way. She is basically modern day Marilyn Monroe. She's starting to dress like her with the same outfits and whatnot.
Yeah.
She is Marilyn Monroe.
She's accentuating her features.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Hey,
Megan Thee Stallion is nude in the Women's Health magazine, the Body issue.
Hey, well, the girl keeps in shape, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our boy, Jeff Garcia of Locked On Spurs.
Sure.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on threads at JeffG10s5SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at JeffGSpursZone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, Jeff G Spurs Zone on Twitter and on Threads. I also subscribe to Locked On Spurs on Spotify and YouTube as well. He has an article that he posted just 20 minutes ago saying, quote, Grizzlies G.G. Jackson says Victor Wembanyama's trash talk is difficult to hear because of his height.
So he needs to get on the ladder.
What's the weather like up there? He also has an article about Mamu, how Mamu played well in the absence of Jeremy Sohan and in the absence of Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. Spurs won last night 102-87. 20th win of the season, won 5 out of 10. First time in 2 years that they've won 5 out of 10 games. Jeff Garcia also had me as his guest yesterday, and we were talking about whether they should shut Wemby down, whether Wemby's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-NBA defense, and things like that. Again, Jeff G. Spurs Zone on Twitter and on Threads. People are still going.
They said the picture you showed with no makeup on with the Selma.
Yeah,
that's when she was rehearsing for the Freedom movie.
No, man, her brows weren't together, man. Her brows weren't together at all. By the way, I wanted to talk about the fact that there's going to be a big concert this fall at Retama Park. Who would have thought that Retama Park was still alive?
Retama Park, man. Who are they going to have coming through?
So again, Retama Park is going to have live racing beginning of the next month or so. They're going to have some quarter horse racing. But they made an announcement on Facebook over the weekend that I found to be fascinating because the Tacos and Tequila Festival is moving over there. I don't know if you've ever been to Tacos and Tequila Fest, But I really like Taco Tequila Fest.
Really?
It was at La Villita for a good while, and they have live music there. And what they have at Tacos and Tequila Fest is they have all these vendors there that are kind of like restaurants that, let's say that it's like La Fogata, right, or El Mirasol, or the nicer Mexican restaurants, the bougie Mexican
Yeah.
restaurants. They go out there and they start cooking out there, like with a taco truck, and you go over there and you're allowed X number of tacos, and then you can buy some, additional. And then they have all these margaritas, like you can taste La Fogata's margarita, you can taste,
Ooh,
La Margarita's
that'll get you in
margarita.
trouble, man.
Yeah, and everyone's just downing tacos and
Margaritas.
margaritas. So they're gonna move the Tacos and Tequila Fest to Retama Park, and it's gonna take place October 5th. So hopefully by then it's cooled down a bit again. But they're gonna have music, a hip hop lineup of 2000s icons. We're talking about T.I., who I've seen in concert before. He's really good.
Wow.
Fat Joe, Chingy, Too Short, Frankie J,
Damn.
Petey Pablo, the Yin Yang Twins, Baby Bash, and DJ Ashton Martin. Again, they're talking about the best taco chefs in San Antonio, the best margaritas in San Antonio. They're going to have a Chihuahua beauty contest.
Oh, God.
They're also going to have a queso competition as well, an exotic car showcase, Lucha Libre Wrestling, and more. Again, that's going to be October 5th at Retama Park.
Hey, shout out to Tim Gonzalez. He asked me earlier how my shoulder was doing. I'm still on the mend, dude. It's getting a little better. I'm still in pain, but I'm powering through it. Hopefully, I'll be ready to go back to work by Monday. I just need rest. I'm old.
I hope so. Well, breaking down a little bit. Don't forget, San Antonio Royalty tomorrow. Frank Harris in the Alamo City Sportscast is going to join us on a stream. So he's not going to be in studio. He'll be on a stream. We're going to have a fun time with him, man. I've talked to him about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going to have a fun time about what's going on, talking sports and pop culture. Get to know the guy, man.
Yeah. Can ask him what's your favorite spot to eat in San Antonio, man.
Yeah,
Like, what do
man.
you
That's
like,
a
dude?
great. That's great.
Let's find out about Frank Harris, the person.
The person,
Man.
I mean, maybe after the 4th or 5th time he's on the show, Demon Frank shows up.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting it the first time.
No.
No, man.
Wait, no, he's talking with us. We might bring it out of him, and the listeners might.
Chris Gonzalez asking the question: Did you see the hot nurse in urgent care?
Oh yeah, I saw her again.
Really?
Yeah, saw her again. Prescribed me some stuff for my back, and then I had to go to the other ER because they had to do X-rays.
Yeah.
And I thought the nurse at the first one was hot. The one at the second one blew that one out of the water. I was like, wow.
I'm going to the Spurs Club on Friday night. So while the Spurs are playing, I'll be at the Spurs Club. My first time
Nice.
there. So I'm looking forward to that. I wonder how expensive it's going to be because I'm having dinner over there.
Who are you taking?
I'm just taking a couple friends.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. So we're going to have a good time. But no, it's my first time allowed in there.
Oh, they
Let's
have
see
a
how that
dress code,
goes.
right? They have a dress code.
Yes, no jeans, no jerseys. The only time you can wear a jersey is if the Spurs are playing at that time.
Yeah.
They're actually playing at that time. So it's I think it's a road game that they're playing. So I'll be there during the game, having some grub and all that. I'll be on my best behavior for the most part. For the most part.
No photos, no videos.
Not allowed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Not allowed. But thank you for everyone for listening today. Tomorrow again is Frank Harris, San Antonio sports star, James Pledger. Don't forget to follow him as well. He is at 6 to 7 o'clock. His show is called Extra Innings. He's the birthday boy. It's his birthday week. I think his birthday technically was yesterday, but we're going to allow him to celebrate all the way through. QR code was no longer there, not to be found. But if you
it is.
Oh, let me see. If you want to buy us a coffee, again, this pays for the equipment. Keep us going. Sith asking the question, are we allowed to cook Harris? And the answer is no, we're not allowed to cook Harris.
We want him to come back.
There's no reason to cook Harris. He is San Antonio royalty, for crying out loud. Everybody loves him, including me. Okay.
He's a great
I'm
guy.
a UTSA grad. Frank Harris he's a San Antonio guy. Went to high school in the area. Was a star here for many, many years. Got to play extra seasons because of COVID and things like that.
How do you not love the guy, dude?
It's difficult not to, man. But it's one of those things where they're turning the page, and they're playing without him, and it's a different vibe when he's not out there. But I wonder what life is like now that he's taken off the pads.
Yeah, it gets to heal a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
from the injuries and whatnot.
I'm sure there's an internal clock right now saying that he should be doing certain things
Oh
to
yeah,
prepare.
yeah. Get used to the regimen, that
Mhm.
going in and practicing and going out to the field and whatnot with the team. And it's always about that football life. And now
Yeah,
he gets to be Frank Harris.
gets to relax.
Yeah,
He'll forever be royalty here, man.
yeah.
Free food for life in San Antonio is what I think is going to happen. But again, everyone have a fantastic day. Don't forget to share and like what we do. We will be back tomorrow. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. This is the Alamo City Sportscast. See you guys tomorrow.